Hey guys, happy Tuesday. Welcome to the National Nurses in Business Association Tuesday live stream. I am Nina Hart, president of the NNBA, and I am excited to be with you today. As usual, this is just a conversation to help you move your business forward. It really helps when a conversation is two-sided. So I've got the chat open, and I always love getting questions or comments or feedback. Is this helpful? Is this, answering your questions? Is this giving you ideas to move your business forward? So if you are joining us live or if you're watching the replay, you can still comment. So feel free to hop in the chat and share your thoughts and feedback so that, we can improve this conversation. So the chat is open for you. Today, I'm really excited about this conversation. And so we're talking about newsletters. And newsletters is something that the NNBA has done really, really well throughout, the 12 years prior to me coming on as the president. Michelle Podlesny really, really significantly grew the audience of the NNBA through the newsletter. And now Casey has taken over managing the newsletter. She reformatted it, revamped it, and we've had a lot of great feedback and engagement on that. But that newsletter is a way that we can give value. It's a way that we can increase our reach to our audience and put ourselves out there and gain visibility. So a newsletter is a great way to grow your business. The benefits of a newsletter is that it's almost like a built-in lead magnet, right? So you're putting this content out there to attract all of your qualified people in the right place. One thing that's really important when you're considering a newsletter is the topic, right? So you want to have a newsletter that is niche enough that it's going to bring the people that you want to be in the same place. So making sure that you've got a newsletter topic that is niche enough or specific enough that it's not just like newsletter for everyone to come read. You want it to be something so specific that it's very clear who it's for. So for my Heart Healthcare newsletter, it's called Hospice Excellence. It's on LinkedIn, and I'll talk a little bit about that later. But it's for hospices who want to be excellent. So it's not like healthcare, general healthcare, any topic newsletter, right? You know that if you're working in hospice and you want to deliver excellent care, you want to have a hospice that's excellent, you're probably going to find something in there that's helpful. Your newsletter is going to reflect the content probably that's in it to some degree. You want it to be a high level umbrella of what's going to fall under that. So you don't want it to be so specific that you can only write about one thing unless you've just got a ton of content. If you can write about one thing all the time, even better. Like be super, super specific. The more specific you can get, the more you know you're going to get the right eyes on it and the right people are going to be looking at it. So why a newsletter? Great lead magnet. It's going to help you build know, like, and trust, right? The most important thing about a client working with you is that they know you, they like you, and they trust you. They know you're who you say you are. You're going to respond and you're going to do what you say you do. And you have really done the things that you're saying you can help them with. And so a newsletter is literally you putting all of your expertise into one place in bite-sized pieces where someone could come and learn from you. And so that's super easy. That's a super easy way to help people get to know you, get familiar with you and how you can help them, because you're talking about ways you could help them probably in that newsletter. So a newsletter is a great way to get eyes on you, to get know, like, and trust, to bring the right people to you. Because if they look at the newsletter and they're like, I'm not interested in that, then they're not the right person. Maybe in a year, they'll be super interested in that, right? So if your newsletter was like GLP-1 outcomes and you are marketing, you're a NP, or you're a provider, or you're a coach who coaches people who are taking GLP-1s, then you would say, GLP-1 outcomes is my newsletter. I'm going to talk to you all about GLP-1s, about, how to manage them, how to, integrate fitness and diet, how to manage symptoms. It's going to be all about GLP-1s. If I am someone who's like, absolutely not, I don't need that, or maybe like my weight is perfect and I don't need a GLP-1, then right now I'm not going to be interested in that. But maybe in 2 months, that could change. Or if my insurance started to cover them, that could change. Or if I read a new piece of, content that suddenly GLP-1s appeal to me, now I'm going to come to that newsletter. Oh yeah, I remember that newsletter that was talking about this. So it's a great way to get the right eyes at the right time. So the people that are reading your newsletter are generally going to be in the realm of your ideal client, because they know you're talking about something they're interested in, they need help with, right? So your newsletter should be providing value to your ideal client. So it's a really, really great way to build that audience. So that's why a newsletter. Those are the benefits of a newsletter. I'm going to sneeze. Maybe. I'm going to get a drink. So some formats, newsletter formats. You could write it like a personal letter, like a more personal, insightful, almost like mini novels, like little, what do they call them? Essays. They call them like rocket essays, or there's a name for them or something. I can't remember what it is, but they're like short, consumable stories in essay form. You can do it like that. So it could be more of a personal insight where you're sharing your personal story or your personal experiences. This might work best for like a coach, right? If you're doing like some type of like somatic coaching, or what's the like emotional response, if you're doing like EFT coaching or some type of coaching that involves like self-reflection, you might want to do a more personal narrative type of newsletter, because that could give you more reflection and read more like your story. So that's a good format. The NNBA and my own Heart Healthcare newsletters are both more tips and insights. So it's going to be articles linked to outside sources. Oh my gosh, you don't have to invent the wheel, right? It's already been invented. So use outside resources. A lot of times for my Heart Healthcare and for the NNBA, we link to outside articles and we just share our thoughts on that, or make sure there's awareness around that, or build off of that content where it's like, okay, this article just came out, it's talking about this, here's our thoughts on that, or here's how you can leverage that, or here's what that means for you, right? We're literally just taking stuff that's already been written about and building on that. So you don't have to come up with a ton of content every week or every month, however frequent your newsletter is, just to fill the page, right? That's not really the name of the game. It really should be just relevant value that you find. So you can do that with tips, insights, articles, almost like a newspaper, little mini newspaper page that has links to valuable things. You can do a link roundup and say, our first episode of the newsletter is the 5 best or 10 best or 20 best places to find XYZ, right? That falls under your niche or under your area. And then you can also do a combination of both, where you can do, maybe a personal narrative section, or a story, or a case study, or some reflection, and then like a couple tips based on that, or links out to relevant resources. So you can definitely combine those formats. What to write about is probably the number one thing that I hear people are. If I was to ask you what's keeping you from making a newsletter right now, Probably the top two answers I would get, and you can correct me in the chat here if I'm wrong, is what to write about and or tech. So if nurses had an answer that I would expect, it would be I don't know what to write about, or I don't know how to make a newsletter. So I'm going to address both of those today. Number one, what to write about. Well, I've already talked a little bit in the formats about what you can write about. But what to write about would be if you don't have content buckets or content pillars or a structure for your content, that is super easy to do right now with ChatGPT. It's literally like the easiest thing ever. 5 years ago, I actually had to make up the content pillars myself without any AI assistance, and that was not as easy. But what you're doing is you're saying, under this umbrella of weight management or functional medicine or consulting or coaching, I'm going to talk about these 6 topics consistently, these 4 topics consistently. I will say I would condense them as much as you can, because you can always have a bunch of topics under those umbrellas or those buckets, but you don't want to have 52 different content buckets because it just starts getting overwhelming. I like to do like 6. So you have like 2-month chunks in each bucket. So you could talk about one thing for 2 months and then move on to the next bucket, or you could structure it however you want, but that's one way to do it. Or you could do like a quarterly, if you could condense them even further. You could do a quarterly topic. I know people who do that, who choose one topic for each quarter and they stick to that topic the whole quarter and they break it down into maybe 3 sub chunks. So like if your topic was safety for quarter 1, or maybe there's an end of the year safety meeting, right? And you would, hospitals need to do that. You would do that in quarter 4 because that makes sense. There are things you can like look at the year for your ideal client and say, okay, well, holidays are a really hard time for people who, have weight control issues because, they're in places where there's a lot of like dessert or food available and they're overeating, right? So you might have an end of year topic like self-control or emotional eating might be your bucket for Q4 because you're in holiday season, right? You're November, December, you're going to be around family, there's going to be triggers. That could be your topic for Q4. So that's one way to structure what to write about. But once you have those general topics that you're going to write about, and literally just go into ChatGPT and type, can you help me create content buckets or content pillars or a content strategy with topics based on my areas of expertise and interest, which are blah, 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 blah. So for me, I would go in there and I would say, hey, ChatGPT, can you help me build out a content bucket strategy for hospice compliance consulting? And I can tell you it's going to be like, yes, here are your content buckets. Number 1 is going to be QAPI and quality improvement. Number 2 is, that maybe that includes emergency preparedness. And maybe the other one is like patient satisfaction scores. And maybe the other one is survey readiness and accreditation. And that's a whole content bucket right there, survey readiness and accreditation. And under that could be how to prep for a survey, how to do a mock survey, how to evaluate if you're ready for accreditation. So all your mini subtopics go under those, but it'll literally just list them all out. And then if you don't like them, or if you want to combine them further, you just keep telling it what to do. So I don't actually want to include community. Like one of the things for me was like community networking, and that's just under the compliance piece. That's really not something I talk about a ton. So unless, I roll that up under like education, right? So you can roll that content up under another bucket that if you're like, I'm not going to talk about this for 3 months straight, roll it up under another bucket where it can be a subtopic, right? So that's one way to do that. But yeah, so you can write about experiences, you can write about case studies and outcomes. People love that. So if you've had clients already, or if you've done like pro bono for some of your coaching, you can write about the experiences and the outcomes that you learned. It doesn't have to be even what a client learned or client takeaways. It can be like, I had this experience that improved my services so much, and here's what it was, and here's why. And then here's a couple references that I used when I went back to look into this further. And so it's a really great way it's a really great way to improve your content and make it more personal, is like some of those takeaways. So you can do outcomes as well. And then obviously tips, tricks, shortcuts, troubleshooting, especially if you're in anything that's like more technical. And I don't necessarily mean like IT, I just mean a more technical component where people get stuck on it. Accreditation is a little more technical, if you ask me, because there's so many components you have to be aware of. So that's easy to do a lot of troubleshooting around, like what are surveyors looking for in this area? What are they looking for with personnel files? What are the common deficiencies they're going to find in personnel files? That kind of stuff. So hopefully that helps you with what to write about. But where should your newsletter be? I think this is also a little bit of an issue for nurses because we get caught up in this technology component. So a couple platforms you could consider that are all relatively easy to use are Substack. It's like literally an actual newsletter platform, software provider, and I think Beehive, maybe? I don't know if that's the right name. There's one with a B on it. That's the same thing as Substack. I believe there is a free plan. I don't want to misspeak. But I know a lot of people who use Substack and are very happy with it. And it is a great way to grow a newsletter. You can also put your newsletter behind a paywall and charge for it if that's a service that you offer. If you notice that your newsletter is providing a service that has real value and you could tie a dollar amount to that. I know providers who have newsletters who they charge, maybe they even have tiers like a $5 a month tier where you get one newsletter a month and a $25 a month tier where you get a weekly newsletter. And then, there's a community QA call. You can do that in Substack. If you also have an email provider already, so like MailChimp, Constant Contact, GetResponse, ActiveCampaign, something like that, you can easily do your newsletter in there. And I would recommend that if you already have that set up, and that's how we do it with the NNBA, because you've already got all your contacts in one place. There's already a template in your email provider. Even if you don't know it, go in there. It says like contacts, lists, segmentation, templates, something like that, landing pages. It's got a newsletter template for you to use. So I would suggest, if you have that set up and you already have contacts in an email provider, use that as a a lead magnet to grow your list. And that's a great thing that a newsletter can do for you. The last one, I saved the best for last. For my Heart Healthcare Solutions for Hospice Excellence, it's in LinkedIn. It is free. There is no tech, none at all. There is no excuse why anyone could not make a LinkedIn newsletter, except if you do it on your business page, you have to have X amount of followers already. I think it's 50. Feel free to correct me in the chat. If I'm wrong, I'm not a LinkedIn expert. I'm a nurse. But I think you have to have a certain amount of followers following your business before you can initiate that LinkedIn newsletter. So that what I'm saying is, if you don't have a LinkedIn business page, it's going to be a challenge, or it's going to be a little lead time for you to get up and running with a newsletter. So start your LinkedIn business page today. Start sharing it. Share it on your other social media. If you already have a newsletter or an email provider, share your LinkedIn business page on that and say, follow our new page. We'll be starting a new newsletter June 1st. Follow us here, right? And then you'll get some traction pretty quickly there. But I think you have to have 50. But LinkedIn newsletter has been amazing for me. So my Hospice Excellence newsletter has over 500 subscribers, maybe 550 right now, which for a super niche hospice compliance and education newsletter, I think is pretty phenomenal. And these are all my ideal clients. These are hospices that want to be excellent, and they are on LinkedIn, reading my newsletter, engaging with my content, getting to know me from that. So I would recommend, if you're just starting and you feel like tech could be a barrier, I do know Substack is very easy. So Substack is not too challenging on the tech component, but it's all in Substack. So same with LinkedIn. It's all in LinkedIn. One of the considerations of using your email provider for this newsletter is that social media platforms and softwares like Substack are not really owned by you. So if LinkedIn closed down today, I would have no way to know or contact those 550 newsletter subscribers. So the best way to own your own content and to own your own email list is to have a contact list that is yours. I can export the contact list from GetResponse for the NNBA newsletter. So I have those emails, right? We have those emails because those people opted in to receive that information. They traded us their email to receive that information. That's how a opt-in works. So if you do a LinkedIn or even a Substack, I don't know if you can export your list from Substack. That's a good question. But even on LinkedIn, you don't own that content. LinkedIn owns that content. So if you don't back that up, if you don't keep that somewhere, and there's really no way to email your LinkedIn subscribers, except I do love this about LinkedIn. When you publish your newsletter on LinkedIn, it sends a direct email inbox to every single subscriber. So biweekly, I publish my Hospice Excellence newsletter, and in their email box, they get a notification there's a new episode, a new edition out. I think that's great. And now LinkedIn will even show you the stats of who opened it, how many, the percentage of people who, how many got that email and how many opened that email. So you get a little more visibility into who's interacting now with your content. So that's really nice. So hope that's helpful as far as platforms to consider. All three of these are relatively easy and don't require a website, don't require a tech team to set up. Might be a little bit of frustration at first getting up to speed if you've never done anything like this or just kind of figuring it out. But from the most part, I find nurses saying that the content is where they get hung up. So if you could make yourself a ChatGPT content strategy, the actual setup of the newsletter platform should be relatively simple after that. And if not, watch some YouTube videos. That's what I would suggest if you're like, man, I really don't even think I could get through setting it up on LinkedIn. Watch a YouTube video and do it step by step. Because I'm just one person and I was able to figure it out and it's doable. So I believe that you can do it. Moving on, I wanted to talk a little bit about some do's and don'ts of newsletters. These are just my own personal tips, so it's not the law here. And I did not know where the apostrophe in don'ts should go. So please forgive me if they're supposed to be between the T and the S, or if there's just supposed to be two apostrophes. I don't really know how that works, and I don't really care. So do's and don'ts of newsletter is do include a call to action. So even if you create a LinkedIn newsletter or a Substack newsletter, if Substack doesn't house your list, which again, I don't really know, but you can always link out, and you should link out to somewhere that you own, that you operate, that you manage. Link out to your website. Follow us. Download a free cheat sheet from our website, or we have a new workshop coming up. Catch our live workshop here. Whatever it is that you're going to offer, whatever your intro offer is, we're not talking about offer ladders today, but you should have something free, a lead magnet, a hook, a workshop, something free for people who just meet you and aren't going to pay you yet. You should link that out in your newsletter every single time. Sign up for updates in your inbox here and move them over to your email service provider. Get our list of 10 tips and cheats that no one knows here. And then they trade you their email for that list, right? That's how you get their email. That's how you can contact them in the future. That's how you can continue to provide value. So make sure you have some call to action. I would not recommend, this just personally, having that call to action be to buy something, because their newsletter is just a way to better know you, right? So you're sharing insights, you're meeting them. It's like me and you having a casual conversation. I don't have your phone number yet. I don't really know you. I've never been to your house. We're just chatting about the weather. And then I'm like, will you give me $1,000? right? Like it's off-putting. So it's not a good time to jump right in and ask for money. You don't really know them that well. We're just having a casual conversation. A first step might be, could I have your number? I'd love to talk again, maybe, or your email, whatever you're comfortable with. That is the next step here. So I would avoid, if it was me, putting an offer where you're asking them to buy something from you at the end of your newsletter, because if it's the first time they're reading it, the first time they're finding it, they're going to be like, what? I don't know this person. I just read an article, right? Or clicked on the wrong link or whatever, right? So you don't want to be off-putting. And then don't make it salesy. Same concept there. Your newsletter should not be a pitch. It's a warm introduction, right? So you're not pitching how great your products and services are in your newsletter. Now, maybe overtly you're doing that because you're saying, I know my stuff. Look at this newsletter. I know how to do this, right? That's fine. But you're not saying, buy this. This is what you get. Here's my new coaching package. Here's my consulting package. Here's how much it costs. Here's what I can do for your company. That's not the place for this. This is a value add. If it doesn't add value to them, it shouldn't be in there, right? So it can be as short or as long as you want. Sometimes shorter is better. And if you're not doing that personal narrative, if you're doing like tips and articles, it probably should be shorter. But you don't want to sell yourself in the newsletter. Maybe you put a link, maybe in your link out, you link to a page that shows them your services and they can get a free consult there. A free consult is a great call to action. Do share on multiple platforms. So even if you decide to do your newsletter on LinkedIn, share it out through your email, share it on Facebook, share it on Instagram, make a QR code, whatever, follow us here, find our LinkedIn page. If you're doing a Substack newsletter, share it on your other socials. You want to be promoting your newsletter in a lot of different avenues. In videos, right? Put a QR code in videos. Hey, if this was helpful for you, scan the QR code right here and follow us on our LinkedIn newsletter, right? That's a perfect call to action for the end of a video that somebody doesn't know you at all. And they're like, yeah, okay, I can commit to scanning a QR code to check this newsletter out. That is no threat to me and no risk to me at all, right? When you're in a warm introduction with someone, you're wanting to start with the lowest possible risk to them. Something free is very little risk. So give them a reason to sign up or stay engaged. So if it's going to be a lead magnet, that could be, like I said, the checklist, that could be a video, that could be a workshop, or it could just be the content of your newsletter is valuable enough that they want to keep coming back every time you put out an edition, because it's high value and it's helping them. It's helping them stay on track. It's helping them learn. It's helping them grow. It's helping them with a goal, right? So the more high value it is, the better. And I will just throw this in my do's and don'ts. Don't worry about providing too much value. If you could become a millionaire from reading an article, we'd all be millionaires, right? So don't worry about providing too much value in an article. The whole point is to be high value, to give value. You can't give too much, right? So don't worry about that. And then don't fill the page up with text. It will not get read. So unless you're doing like a long form story narrative, if your newsletter is tips and tricks and insights, it probably should be bullet points. And I wouldn't, unless it's a link roundup, have 50 bullet points on there. You want this to be consumable for them. So if it's once a week, if it's once a month, it should be highly consumable. So that should be succinct and brief and easy to read and ingest and easy to understand and easy to follow. If you have paragraphs, or even worse, just text, like you make a Google Doc and you just type it all out and paste it in there, the likeliness of anyone making it to the bottom, if your link to sign up for something is at the bottom, they'll never get there. They'll never make it, right? So you want to build that interest as you go through the text, right? You want to keep it organized, keep it flowing, and keep it very efficient information. I was just at this Goldman Sachs alumni meeting, and they said, keep it EEC, efficient, exciting and concise. I don't know. I don't think that feels right, but it was something like that. So you want to keep your information really consumable for people because they'll keep coming back to it that way. And so I hope that this helped you. I haven't seen any questions in the chat, but I also did want to make sure that you know, as far as our upcoming July conference, Casey is doing a conference Q&A. If you get our newsletter, you will see it in there as well. Our early bird pricing for the NNBA conference is ending on May 17th. So if you're on the fence and you're not sure if this conference is the right fit for you, you've never been, you don't know what it's going to be, or you don't know the logistics, you have logistics questions, you have content questions, whatever it is, Casey, our member coordinator, is doing a live Zoom Q&A on the 15th to answer any questions before the early bird rate cuts off on the 17th. So you can join that here. I'll go ahead and put that in the chat as well for you, just so you have that. Because if you have any questions, this is really a great opportunity to just join them and ask or find out more information. If you're on the fence and you're just not sure if this is for you, that Zoom link, it's on the 15th, and you can get more information about that. If you're on our email list, you should have gotten an email. So look for that. It talks about that Q&A. I don't have any questions, and I'm right at 30 minutes. So I'm going to wrap up and say thank you so much for joining. Have a great week. I hope this was high value for you. And if you start a newsletter, send it to me. I want to see it. Send me a message or email it to me so I can subscribe and support you.